going? Okay, so again, welcome to our first Communities of Practice. I'm super excited to have everybody. All right, so let's start by talking about what is a community of practice. Many of you guys may have heard this term. I have a link here to a little bit of reading for you guys. But basically a COP or community of practice is a term that was created by a cognitive anthropologist, a couple of them. And really what a community of practice is it's a group of people that share a need, a concern, a passion. They have the chance to share their experiences, their expertise. It's a free-flowing discussion of knowledge and creativity. So basically dynamic learning and problem solving that y'all can do together. And this is really for people that desire for a better way. They're looking for efficiencies and other ways to do something better. That sounds pretty good to me. All right, so why now? Why are we trying to do this now? Well, I have had so many people reach out to me for various things, and sometimes if I say something that makes sense to them and it clicks, it just helps them so much. And from my own perspective and past history, I know personally that when I've had those moments of something clicking, a lot of times it was from one of my peers in another school district, for instance, and they would say something to me and I think, why am I not doing it that way? Plus, we have a lot of turnover in the state, as you know. It is what it is. It's a competitive market out there, and there's been a lot of turnover, or even people switching between districts and maybe needing to learn a new way of doing something there. Maybe it's a new accounting system. And then we all know that there's a huge complexity of federal compliance. So we're going to try and help with that. And then we also know that we have a number of new funding sources like ESSER and some of these other ARPA things that, oh my goodness, they're coming to an end soon. And now it's about all this reporting. And then we're really also just looking for capacity building because we mentioned before, we're looking for efficiencies. Is there a better way to do something? So we don't want to be like this gal here in the picture with 1,000 binders and trying to dig through something and figure it out. Somebody probably has been through what you're going through, whether you messed up on your audit or had some sort of finding you need help with, or maybe you think you broke your accounting system or whatever it might be, or gosh, I really just need some help understanding what all these regulations mean. Okay. All right. So again, what do our communities of practice hope to provide? Access to experts in our field, right? Our peers, peer-to-peer learning and knowledge sharing. We're going to try and learn the how and the why behind things, and we're going to try and develop some best practice and strategies, and then share those, right? We're going to put together resources and share them. And then we're going to post them on our website to make sure that there's a good place for you guys to all look them up. And then the other thing that I do on my own federal community of practice is a reminder timeline. So what's going on around the state? Don't want to lose sight of this. Oh my gosh, I don't know anything about that. I better attend something that might be a webinar or something. And then just again, support and confidence building. Okay, so I want you to feel like this gal with the blue hair. You are ready to go, right? You can do these things. You have the confidence. Okay. So some of the things we are going to cover specifically when we do these communities of practice, we're going to do some hot topics. Maybe there's some new announcement that came out and we want to make sure that everybody understands what they were reading. The timelines, again, what's going on around the state, compliance overview reviews, things like that. So let's learn about compliance. Let's do some tips and tricks. And that I'm going to be trying to get some of you all to help contribute. So if you know some great way to do something that you discovered in your accounting system or something that just made sense to you, want to share. And then just again, the other topics that will be submitted by you. But the main structure is really going to be 5 to 10 minutes of the timelines of our grant due dates and things like that, those things going on around the state. Some little professional development from the SDE on a given topic, and then hopefully some presentations and discussions from business managers and other program directors. So folks that want to have their questions answered by their peers. So we're going to have a what's up and what do we need to discuss and what do we want for future. So perhaps you guys tell me in advance on a community of practice, hey, in 2 months, this massive crazy report is due. We would like this. We would like some help with that. So that's what we're going to be looking for. Okay. All right, so with that, we're going to start our first poll. And the reason I'm asking this just live is because I want to know, and I want you all to know that there are other people using the same systems. So I'm just curious. I've asked this on my other survey, but I'm going to launch this for you guys. Can everybody see this? Hopefully. And again, I know there's many other options, but there's a ton of y'all that use Skyward and Visions. Visions is the only one I've ever used, right? And I happen to know there's some amazing functions in there that not a lot of people maybe are utilizing. Like for instance, CellSense. If you don't know what that is, you really need to learn it. Maybe you are someone that uses one type of report and you don't know about this other section of your system, or that there's ways to customize that. And I know that I think there's only 2 districts that use Business Plus anymore. And I know there's some tiny ones that use QuickBooks, but yeah, I just want to make sure that everybody has a chance to see. Can you guys see this poll on your screen? Okay. Well, I am going to end my poll here in just a second. Right now, I'm showing about 26% of you guys are on Skyward, up to 29 on 2M, 24% on Infinite Visions or Tyler products, and about 24% are on other. So we're split, but you guys, there's somebody that's going to know that. I'm going to share these results for you guys. Can you see them now? Okay, excellent. So just to make you feel a little bit better, right? We want you to know that there's somebody else out there that you guys can reach out.
Yeah, I'll get that for you on.
Sure.
Okay, and somebody is not on mute.
Okay.
Do we have
Awesome. All right. Thank
somebody
you very much, Will.
to
Appreciate
ask
it.
to mute? Okay, I think we got it. Okay, so we don't want you to be like this guy here who is very frustrated with his accounting system. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is a survey that I had sent out on the original invite, and I will send it out again when I do this PowerPoint. It's a click to do the main survey because these communities of practice are designed for you guys. So I need to know what you guys want to do. This is just a screenshot. It's talking about, hey, what am I interested in? Grant topics related to purchasing. How and what should I not do? Or what is required of a contract, right? Uniform grant guidance. Edgar, hey, does anybody have this book? Look at mine. I have so many tabs. It's very well used. We're going to talk a lot about those things in these communities of practice, but I promise only in small bits because it's kind of painful. We're going to talk about OMB guidance. Do you guys want more on time and effort? GEPA, what are the things that don't make sense to you? So please do that survey. We want to make sure we're giving you relative content to discuss. And so far, I just want to give you a quick idea. This was the other day when I was starting to get some of those surveys in, but I'm getting kind of a little bit of everything. I have folks that want to learn about Title II, IDEA, family and community engagement. There's a lot of people looking at ESSER. So a little bit of everything. And I just want you to know that that big gray that was other was a whole bunch of others. So I will try and make sure that we can address those things, or at least provide help and links to things that come through that you guys have requested. And then the other thing to help you all understand too is who's here. This was who was starting to take that survey. We had a lot of business managers or finance folks, but we still had quite a few that were program directors and other accountants and things. So a little bit of everybody. I'm asking that in that survey specifically so that I can understand what level of folks are there so that we can maybe have breakout groups and things like that. And then accounting, this is a fiscal related group. So if there were accounting items that you were looking for, I cut off the word here, but it should have said IC and SDE reporting, maybe, or just iFarms reporting in general. Do you need help with the CFSGA, budgeting? What are the things that you're looking for? So these are some of the responses that were coming in. And again, a lot on other that just miscellaneous things. Next up is grant compliance. I've had a lot of folks want time and effort in the past, and they still do. And that's because, again, we have so many new folks, I bet. But the Edgar was the one in green, allowable costs. And these could be allowable costs for title versus special education versus whatever. So it's not just a special education group here that we're creating. My new counterpart that hopefully will be hired here shortly for federal programs will help. I'm hold in the future on these as well. And then we're going to bring in folks just from the other programs in general to help teach about title and other things that you guys want to know about.
Jeff would have been the one that would have done it.
And I still
Open
have
the file cabinet.
somebody
Let me see what I have in mind too.
Okay.
to mute.
I'm in a special ed
Not
meeting, but don't
unmute.
worry.
I would try to do that.
Do.
But I've got enough right now as it stands, but
Okay,
if it's true,
did you look
April
at,
can come in.
Okay, I've muted
look
a
at the
couple people. There we go. Okay. All right. Now, this is what I'm calling my what's on your radar. So what's due around the state? If you don't recognize what this is the data acquisition calendar that's posted on the school finance page and a couple other places on our website at the SDE. So what I did is I filtered, you can see filters here, and I only chose the federal programs in special education. And my goal here, again, every month when we meet is to say, hey, don't lose sight of these due dates, right? What are the things federal programs related that you need to get going? So we've already just recently passed a couple of these, right? If you're a charter and you had significant expansion, you added a grade, those things, your actual numbers were due to me on October 5th. So I will be looking at those and the federal programs team will be looking at those to make adjustments if you were over or under on your best guesstimates last spring for what those expansions would be. Now, another thing coming up here that you just had yesterday was something for McKinney-Vento, right? So if we can do this, and I was posting this in September and you guys said, hey, can somebody send out the directions on that coding structure for McKinney-Vento that's coming up in October? We could have sent that out. So those are the things we're hoping to do, just to bring attention, to make sure you have the CFR references so that you know what to do. And then you can ask questions. And if I don't have the answer, I work here with everybody who runs these programs, so I can walk over and get you an answer. Okay, so here is what's coming up in November. And again, we're only looking at federal program type of things. I did include school nutrition on this one so that you can see that November 15th is a pretty busy day. You guys have Title 1A stuff due, you've got child nutrition stuff. And hey, that's also the final date for my IDEA Part B special education funding, right? So that's when your final application is due. You should have closed out your audits by then, and I really want to get your grant money to you. So if you can please submit those on time. We're also held to certain restrictions that I'm supposed to get those funds to you by a certain date. So that's why we have those due dates. So please, and when we're looking at these things, if there's something that doesn't make sense to you, or you're like, hey, I have no idea what this MSIS thing is for migrant ed in November, can somebody please have Sarah CMAT reach out to me, right? So this is important. We just don't want to lose sight of this. There's always so much going on. Okay, I promised a quick tip and trick. And just to get started, because I'm a little selfish here, knowing that my application is coming due, I have a link here that will take you to how to fix common errors that pop up in our application. It's not super intuitive. Sometimes you're like, why am I getting this dumb error? So I'm showing you here, there's lots of resources on our fiscal page when you're in the application that are right there for you guys. So I just want to make sure you guys know those resources are there. Okay, so it's time for another poll. I just want to find out more from you guys. Let's see, I'm trying to see which poll I have here. Okay, I'm going to launch this for you guys. Can you guys see it? All right, trying to gather where are we at from everybody's perspective on grant compliance, because my little handy dandy book here can only make so much sense if everyone's at a different level. So if I need to create different levels of intros or more advanced applications of things, that's kind of what I'm looking for. So I'm just trying to get an idea, because if you have foundational knowledge, but you're just looking for that bigger end structure, or if you're really just lost and you need it all, I just want to know that. So I'm going to leave this open for just a little, and then I'll share the results. Again, I can't see who is who. I'm just looking to gather relative information so that I know where to start. And don't be afraid of rules and regulations, by the way. I look like that lady half the time as I'm trying to interpret it too, right? So don't feel bad. All right, so I am going to end this poll and I'm going to share the feedback. So take a look. Can you guys see that okay? Yep. Okay. So we have a couple that say, yeah, I do feel like I'm an expert there. So maybe you don't want to attend the ones if I'm doing a real compliance heavy community of practice. My other goal is to be able, after that full survey data comes in, to be able to put out a real detailed schedule of here's what I'm going to have for the November training. I'm going to bring in the McKinney-Vento coordinator and she's going to talk about this. So those are the things that I want to make sure that we do. Okay, on to the next. I don't want to keep you guys too long. So another piece that I wanted to share with you guys was some little tidbit to take away today that we learned about. So the Code of Federal Regulations, I get asked this a lot. Well, how do I decipher all those? What does that even mean? Well, the first piece that always precedes the CFR is the title. So that's the program, the federal, how the federal regulation is divided, right? And it's how we interpret the law. That's what the CFR is. Then there's this little crazy symbol that I always get accessibility errors on, and that is the section code, just the section. And then you have the section number within that specific title program. And then the final piece, if you have an A, B, C, I, whatever you have, that's the little paragraph within. So once we start getting into Edgar and some of those codes, when we start learning about that, I just want you guys to feel like you're already able to read those and understand. And I put these in my trainings all the time as well, because I want you guys to be able to go read it more in depth. When I cover stuff, I try to paraphrase it, help you understand what is the gist of what we're doing. But then I want you to be able to go do a deeper dive. So hopefully you're feeling like this lady here with your super cape now, because you know what all this means. All right, next up on the agenda, I have some more laws and regulations that we're going to take a look at. And so for this, this is a lot of detail right here. This is for staff who are going to be managing federal grants, and then you are required to be able to navigate through all these different regulations, federal and state, to make an informed decision, right? So I just want to help break this down real briefly. This first top piece is the United States Code here. This is the chapter for IDEA Part B, for instance, and I'm just giving you that as a starting point for an example. So if you were looking up Title 20, Chapter 33, that is special education, okay? IDEA Part B. Then we drop it down to the 34 CFR 300. Darn it already, I gotta mute somebody again. Okay. I think I did it. Okay, it happens to us all. And then you go into what we talked about was Edgar, and that's specifically the U.S. Department of Education. So that's education's specific little pieces that's divided then again into the CFR uniform grant guidance. And then you also have your state programs, rules and regulations. And then you get down into the nitty gritty, which is for us in Idaho, Title 33. And then you also have your IDAPA coding, okay, for the state administrative board rules, or administrative rules and policies. So I really just wanted to make sure that you guys had this flow in mind, that, hey, it starts kind of at the federal level, and then there's also state applications, well, program applications, then state, and then again, just uniform grant guidance. So we'll talk a lot about 2 CFR Part 200. That's the biggie. That's where we're going to talk about a lot about what's applicable and allowable and meaningful and necessary, those types of things. And I do have links in this PowerPoint. There's links live here in this screen for when you get in there, but I'm also going to include some notes that helps explain this, that also has additional links when I send out that PowerPoint. Okay, more regulation help. So this one, I just want to give you guys a basic triangle of understanding that by statutes and regulations and guidance. So if it's a statute, then it's been passed by Congress. If it's a code of federal regulation, this is the interpretation of the law, right? And they're usually legally enforceable as well. Then you have non-regulatory guidance that's given out. That's how an agency will explain how something is interpreted and should work, but they're not always binding. So just to help you understand when we talk about a statute versus a regulation versus guidance, it's just helpful when you get those emails from the feds or from us, look for those words. If you're seeing a statute, you better be looking at that, right? And same with the regulations. If it's just guidance, guidance is there for a reason, but know that it's not necessarily legally binding. So that's a good one for you guys to print out and put on your wall. I used to do that. You don't have to. Okay, one last poll for you. So again, when I first started today's meeting, I talked to you about how many times I've had to move this. I really want people to be able to attend. It's so much better when you're live. So please tell me what days work better for you. We're looking at Tuesdays or Thursdays. So I really I'm open to either. I just don't want people to never be able to attend. And I had so many people, and we're probably going to get an equal number. So maybe we'll alternate, but I don't want to cause confusion. But yeah, I'm just looking to make sure that everybody has an opportunity equally to be able to attend. And I'm selfish too, because I want you guys to be able to help be part of it, to help train each other. So I want to make sure as many of you guys can attend as possible, because you guys are going to do so much peer-to-peer guidance. I'm super excited about that. Okay, so I'm just leaving this open for a couple more seconds. I think just about everybody has answered. So I will end this poll and share the results. We are almost equal. Let's see, Tuesdays are slightly better, and there's a lot of people that just said, hey, whatever. So I think we may end up sticking with Tuesday. We'll see. I also had a lot of people just emailing me, and I'll take that into account as well. So thank you guys for answering that. We just want to make sure we're supporting you guys. Okay, so today's intro to our community of practice was kind of short and sweet, and don't want to go too long. And I don't always want to be the only one talking. So really what I'm hoping here is that, again, this community of practice is here. It's going to help build confidence and support. I want to make sure that we know who's on which accounting system and who is a rock star and who knows this and who can train on that and who has had this before. Oh, I had that when I worked at this other district. So please fill out that survey. I'll send this out, this PowerPoint. I'll send out the survey link again, and really pick out your cape, because we're all going to be super at our jobs. You already are. I just want to help you guys with the confidence that you might need on some of these other little gray areas. So with that, I do have comments open that you should be able to put in the chat. If you want to send me an email, if you want to put something in chat before you leave, those are the last little things that I had for you. But again, we're just a call away. And when I say we, it's not just special ed, the State Department in general. And I'm super looking forward to bringing in other folks from the other federal programs to do intros and trainings with you guys on these little communities of practice in the future. So if anybody has anything else that they wanted to say out loud, I opened it up so anybody can unmute. If anybody needs anything, we'll stick around here for just a couple minutes, but otherwise I just want to thank everybody for their time and look forward to that new schedule coming out. Thank you guys.